Hi friends and companions along this path of spiritual practice. At the end of one of her essays, the poet Mary Oliver says, "Attention is the beginning of devotion." Attention is the beginning of devotion. I think about how typically in Zen meditation practice, the beginning student's first assignment and the abiding task of seasoned practitioners is to bring attention to our breath, the inhaling and exhaling. Usually for the beginning of practice, we bring particular attention to the exhale of the breath. We follow the breath out, we let go, we give ourselves away, and then beyond that point of exhale, we touch a stillness of body and mind where we can rest. It's a wonderful way to step into meditation practice to ground us and center us in this stillness and calm. An alternative attention to breathing takes place a little bit later on, where we follow not just the exhale, but the inhale and the exhale, and particularly mindful of the turning moments from the inhalation to the exhalation back to the inhalation. And then lightly but precisely, we tag, we label those turning moments, whether by counting 1, 2, or labeling them, naming them as inhale, exhale. But this alternative practice of being attentive to our breathing is especially helpful for later stages in meditation when, grounded on stillness and calm, we now ask ourselves to be mindful to the dance of awareness of life happening all around us. But whether we are beginners or seasoned practitioners, the cornerstone of Zen meditation practice in particular is attention. The 15th century Zen master Ikkyu was once approached by a student who asked, "Teacher, tell me, what is the highest wisdom of the Dharma?" And without missing a beat, Zen master Ikkyu answered, "Attention, attention, attention." The attention that we're talking about in meditation practice has, to my thinking, at least 3 different qualities. The kind of attention, firstly, is often called one-pointed attention, or if you will, undivided attention. It's about developing the capacity to concentrate on one thing after another thing after another thing. It's not just any attention, but it is attention to this teacup that I'm drinking from, to this way of holding the teacup, with the particular fingers in the way that they are holding the teacup. It's as granular and as particular as our minds and as our practice is able to manage. So this attention that we're talking about is single-pointed, undivided. And yet, and this is the second quality of our attention is inclusive, or as inclusive as where we are in our stage of practice. It's inclusive not only of the teacup and my fingers, but it's aware of the temperature in the room. It's aware of the fluctuation of the ambient light happening in the room. In contrast to other forms of meditation, Zen meditation teaches practitioners to keep the eye half open or half closed, but we let light in. But the other significant meaning behind keeping the eyes half open is we're trying to be as inclusive as we can. We're not shutting ourselves and being only attentive to what's happening inwardly, but we're attentive to what is happening outwardly around us. It's about expanding the field of inclusivity for our attention. So our attention is single-pointed, concentrated, undivided attention. Our attention is simultaneously inclusive attention. And then thirdly, as we deepen in our practice, our attention is held with an uncommon sense of duration, an uncommon and developed sustainability of attention, if you will. The objects of our attention change, from teacup to the hand holding it to the temperature in the room. It changes from things that are pleasant to be attentive to things that are also not so pleasant. But the attention itself is sustained for longer and longer periods of time. In fact, in many Zen centers and monasteries, you may find that a single session of meditation practice can be up to 50 minutes straight before transitioning to a walking meditation or some other form of staying with attention. And during those 50 minutes of seated meditation, our attention is maintained rigorously. There's a stillness and a silence in which we sit upright and we bring our mind's attention back to our breath or our koan question, but it's sustained over longer and longer periods of time. If attention is the cornerstone of Zen meditation practice, you and I begin to realize that it can only be sustained not just by power and stamina, not just by willpower, but as Mary Oliver reminds us, by devotion. That word for some of us might be synonymous with the religious words like piety and zeal. But devotion is also non-religious, like a devoted father, the devotion of a teacher. That word devotion has at its heart the original root, which is vow. That devotion asks us to take a vow. And friends, daily spiritual practice is a vow that I'm asking and encouraging us to take. That this vow is essential to sustain our spiritual life as breath is necessary to sustain our life itself. This vow anchors our practice, our attention, so that in time we come to realize our attention expanding even as it sharpens and deepens, and that we are present to our life, as much of our life as it arrives moment by moment, so that we might respond to the questions and challenges compassionately and skillfully. And so, friends, we vow to continue with our daily spiritual practice.